In the past, dissemination of knowledge amongst our registrars was largely either at organised teaching sessions or via email and circulars. This worked to a degree, but had its limitations. One of the biggest problems we tended to face was the problem of emails back and forth, discussing information, never really got anywhere. We tried to actually institute a virtual journal club, a way of reviewing and critiquing journal articles, to get people interested in reading articles and to discuss the information contained and how to go about working out whether the information was valuable. It worked to a degree, but the information was lost in 100 emails. For getting information out to our registrars, we tried teaching sessions with PowerPoint presentations, and it worked to a degree. The people who were able to turn up to the teaching sessions, and of course the 24-hour emergency department can't get all of our staff there all the time, learned what was taught and retained it for a while. But there had to be something better. And that was how Alphastudy started. With Alphastudy, we could place information from our teaching sessions. We could start up discussion boards about whatever interested people, whatever was the hot topic at the moment, or whatever had happened in the department where there was some controversy about what had ended up following from there. And suddenly there was a way that not only could that information be discussed by the entire emergency department at their leisure from their computer with access to all the other information they cared to bring into the discussion, but it was retained there as well and could be discussed at a later date, re-entering the topic of conversation. In addition, we found other uses for the tools that were available there. When people started to do their 410 projects, the projects where they're trying to build a study ostensibly so they could get a tick in the box to get through their fellowship, but also to add to the community knowledge about emergency medicine, we then had survey tools and that we could then use to gather that information at the bedside using bedside computers. During a hospital round, again using laptop computers on wheels, we were able to find out how knowledge could improve in quality improvement topics by sending out surveys in finding out what people knew before the education, giving people an education, again available via Alphastudy, and then resurveying them and finding out how that knowledge was retained after people had done their studies. We're therefore able to use this tool to improve the dissemination of information amongst our emergency trainees and to get feedback on how well that information is being absorbed by them and how it's being put into clinical practice. But there's more. I really got excited about Alphastudy when I got an email on the 28th of April 2009 from a colleague. For him, Newton's apple had dropped. What we were looking at was actually an entirely new paradigm in the way people learn. When we talk about the ways people learn, we talk about pedagogy, child leading, the concept of you teach me what I need to know, didactic teachers, lectures, andragogy, which is adult leading. I'll teach myself what I need to know, where you go out and find the information and absorb the skills that you need to do what you need to do. But we were looking at something entirely new. Flexigogy. We will teach ourselves what we need to know and we will decide its value. The central assumption of this is that each member of the department has some knowledge, either tacit, anecdotes, stories, experience, or explicit, specific knowledge to impart that they can contribute. This is the organisation's social capital, if only we could harness it. Now, Derek Powell gave a good talk on James Surowiecki's book, The Knowledge of Crowds. And one of the real take-home messages was that you can take a lot of very smart people, put them into a think tank, and still get some very, very dumb decisions. And that's because there are problems with decisions made by crowds. Now, what you need to actually get a valuable decision out of a group of people is 4 things. You need diversity of opinion. You need the independence of each member to contribute in their own way and for their own reasons, whatever they may be, not driven by belief of what the organisation actually wants. The decision-making process needs to be decentralised. There needs to be no one in charge to drive it according to their own agendas or their own needs or what they falsely believe to be the best outcome. And finally, you need a way to aggregate all of this disparate knowledge fed into the decision-making process and somehow get valuable information back out. As for the diversity of opinion, that's given by the social capital of your organisation. The independence to make the contributions in their own way is a cultural thing, something that needs to be instilled in the organisation from the ground up. That it's okay to put forward your own views, including for your own reasons. The decentralisation is very, very hard to achieve in a hierarchical organisation like the hospital system. But again, a cultural change and acceptance of the process will get there. And finally, the aggregating tool, that's what Alphastudy is ideally built to do. And so we have a way to achieve this new learning paradigm, flexigogy, using Alphastudy. As with anything new and revolutionary, there are social barriers to its introduction. We need to have a critical mass of content that's deemed valuable. We need to get people involved, allowed to question the thoughts and opinions of a specialist. And as more is built, more people become interested and more people are willing to put their information on site. Anybody who presents at our weekly teaching sessions also puts their presentations onto their site, teach the teacher program. A core of people who understand how to use it and can teach other people not only how to use it themselves, but then how to spread that information to other people who want to get their own sites up and running. Alphastudy itself has an announce feature that allows us to get the information to the members of the site. We're pushing for people to build their own sites, and we're using the site on the floor both as a teaching tool and for things like surveys and studies. So people are seeing the site in use and realising how valuable it is. We need to get people involved. The emergency department is probably the ideal place to try and do that. On the floor we have residents, registrars and specialists all working as teams together and in a friendly, non-competitive way such that it's okay to ask your bosses whether what they're doing is the best match. As we build content and get the site moving, we hope to be able to turn our unmovable object into an irresistible force.